Bison hold a unique fascination in American history and culture. These majestic animals were almost hunted to extinction in the 19th century for their meat and hides, but they've been slowly rebuilding numbers, both in the wild and at farms like Melrose Bison in Campbell County. Owner Mike Morris says they started building their bison herd almost 20 years ago. He's learned the hard way that bison are true wild animals.
You can't walk out amongst them and pet them on the head or anything like that.
Morris says he's had to run for the fence several times while working his herd. All of their equipment and fencing is heavy duty. A mature bison can weigh more than a ton and turn on a dime.
The main thing is keeping them very calm, because they're incredible athletes. I mean, they can go 0 to 40 miles an hour literally in an instant. A full-grown bull can clear a 6-foot fence with one step. I mean, I describe them as a deer on steroids.
At the Virginia Bison Company in Culpeper County, they've been raising bison since 1999 and are quite familiar with the challenges of managing them. Co-owner Rob Ferguson says once most of their herd escaped, thanks to a rusty chain on a gate.
And they ended up running towards the town of Culpeper. So we spent an entire day. Thankfully, we don't chase our bison when we move them, we lead them. So we've trained them to a bucket of some grain and some hooping and hollering sounds that we make. And so we just went out there and spread out and started calling them. There were about 250 bison out.
You could tell the animals were enjoying it, and then it was kind of fun, getting to wrangle them back up on four-wheelers and, get them all back in. And they really got into their wild mode and were jumping and kicking and just acting a fool, basically. And it was a real treat to get to see them like that.
Morris says bison is a good niche market for him and his father to get into a few years ago. Bison meat is extremely lean, high in B vitamins, and has a healthy ratio of omega fatty acids. And many consumers say it tastes sweeter than beef. He sells at a local farmer's market, to several restaurants, and directly to customers.
Just about every one of them say, it's the best meat they've ever tasted in their life. They love it. I mean, I've got, regular customers that buy every week, and that's the main meat they buy. And they continually rave about it. And I can understand why. It's a fantastic meat.
Ferguson says Virginia Bison Company started selling at farmers markets many years ago and still goes to a market in Arlington. Other customers order bison meat through a home food delivery service. And a few come right to the farm to see the bison up close and often take home some meat.
We have a self-guided tour. So we give them a map, tell them which pastures the bison are in that day, because we rotate them every 2 or 3 days. And then they just take a walk and they can have a picnic lunch. People bring food and do their own thing. And some people spend the whole day here. Some people spend about an hour and maybe buy a couple of things in the store and head back.
The COVID-19 pandemic has given both bison farmers a big boost in business, especially in the spring when some other types of meat were hard to find in the grocery store. Like other local meat producers, their animals are processed in a USDA-inspected meat plant. But only a few plants can handle an animal as large as a mature bison. They're physically dangerous to manage, require expensive heavy-duty fencing and equipment, and they're hard to process. Why keep raising bison? There's a mystique to them that keeps these farmers coming back.
The value of the experience far exceeds the fact that it's been not super lucrative. It's doing well, don't get me wrong, but as compared to having a job in an office, you could make a lot more money doing something else, but you can't have this experience without. So.
Like when a front comes through and the weather changes, they'll get out here and just chase each other around the pasture at a full run for 15 minutes, and their tongues hanging out, and they just sit there and they got this little goofy grin on their face, and they've had a great time. They ran, they stopped, and you'll sit there and just watch them for 30 minutes. So they're amazing animals.
There were 8 bison farms scattered across the Old Dominion in 2017, and bison farming is slowly growing in popularity. Bison is still a specialty meat at some restaurants and farmers markets, but it's available online if you want to try it and don't have time to hunt it down locally. In Culpeper County, Virginia, I'm Norm Hyde.